Number one, this is not Octopath Traveler 3, and you shouldn't expect this to be Octopath Traveler 3. When I say it's not Octopath Traveler 3, what I don't necessarily mean from a narrative, although also from a narrative, like it is a prequel to Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, but I also mean more generically, this isn't like a Persona 6, you know, this isn't Persona 5 coming out with a new one, it's Persona 6. This is very much a spin-off and a lower budget game in general. This is closer to like a Persona Q, right, where that Labyrinth game. Doesn't mean it's bad. In fact, I'm very excited. This might be my most hyped game of the last, I mean, honestly, probably since Expedition 33, this is probably my most hyped game. This game is not a like true sequel to Octopath Traveler. It is a spin-off. It is more of a hybrid of Octopath Traveler 2 and Octopath Traveler Champions of the Continent. If you don't know what Champions of the Continent is, I'm just gonna call it COTC from now on. That is their mobile game. And before you click off, because you don't want to play any mobile trash, one, their COTC is a good game. Two, this is taking the best aspects, I think, of COTC that actually did push the games forward, and it is taking out all the mobile garbage, or at least everything that I could see that would be mobile garbage. So have the proper expectations, because this isn't a true sequel. Number two, the combat is likely going to be pretty different than what you're used to if you've only played Octopath Traveler 1 and 2. Now, I'm on the demo here, so I don't have a full party, but one thing we're going to be able to notice here is that we actually have slots for 8 characters. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, like our main, we have 3 here, but we have spot for 1 below. Then we have another 4 slots behind us. And that's because COTC uses an 8-person party. If you've beaten Octopath Traveler 2, you'll know that there is at least one fight where I believe you get to use your 8 characters, but you might want to think of a game like Chained Echoes. So you're going to have a front row and a back row. And I don't know exactly how this is going to play out, but I'm going to assume it's almost identical to COTC in its actual mechanical combat, because that's what it's based off of. And you are going to be able to have 1 action per slot. You have 4 slots, right? Front row, back row, but there's 4 individual slots. Each slot gets to perform an action. So you get to choose. On your first slot, you have Perplatipu and you have Stia. You know, let's say you have them as your front row and back row. You can switch them for free between front and back row, and then you get to, whoever's in the front row actually does the action. Now, this is a pure improvement, and this is the best JRPG, like traditional-ish JRPG combat that I've ever played. I genuinely think this combat system is better than Octopath Traveler 2 in COTC. It has all the same brave points, you know, you get to build them up, you get to use them down. But what this does, by having 8 characters, it allows a huge amounts of diversity of just team builds and parties. And it also allows a bunch of things like you might be able to see skills like this. After you equip character X, gain a 50% chance to restore HP of the ally in the front row with the least HP. So there are going to be skills and passives that will specifically affect the back row or the front row. There will probably be some that I think I've seen one, but I don't remember where it is, where while this character's in the back row, the front row character gets some bonus, right? So they're kind of more of a support, and you might use them for actual combat, but even when you're not using them, you have your main person up front, they're still going to be giving you an effect. So this combat system, I mean, it's going to have everything that you're familiar with, but it's going to be so much better. So if we just take a look in here, right, you have the boost system, you have the skills, you have helpers, which are actually, I believe that's more of a COTC thing. The items, like you have a full, like, normal Octopath Traveler 2, but the 8-person system, I think, is a huge improvement, and personally it's one that I'm very excited for. Number 3, the story structure is going to be very different if you're used to Octopath Traveler. This is not the story of 8 individual characters, all with their own individual stories, that then loosely get tied up to have a reason to go together, which they don't even really in Octopath Traveler 2. They don't actually have a reason to go together. They just kind of do. And then they kind of have a reason at the very end. This game does have an element of that where it's not completely linear. However, you are playing a protagonist, your created character. And so you're going to get these options here to go through these 3 different stories. And if it's like COTC, this will happen multiple times. And so they're all going to be the same level, and you get to choose which direction you want to go first based off your interest or whatever, basically any criteria that you want to set. But this isn't going to be going through the game's 8 different characters. And one good thing about that is that the way those work is it's easy to accidentally over level other characters' stories. Like if you just want to go through and play the whole game, I want to go through Hikari's like whole story because I'm interested and I'm engaged and I want to see the next thing. If you level up to the point where you're able to do that, then everyone else's story is very easy because you're now at a level that's comparable for the final chapters of their stories. What this does is it sets all of them to the same level, right? They're all level 6. And then when you do the Master of Wealth and you clear it or whatever, these other ones are going to go up in difficulty, right? Are they going to be level, I don't know, 10, 12 or something? The point is they will scale. So even though you get to do this one, these ones will then get harder. And then the last one you do will be the hardest of them based on the level. To try to keep it balanced, that way you don't feel like you have to do anything in any specific order, but you still get a little bit, this is what I love, you get a little bit of that Octopath Traveler freedom to kind of choose how you want to progress, but you get the upside of not just power creeping all the content. So a very different story structure that is more focused on one linear story. I mean, yes, there's minor stories in here, but the whole entire game should wrap up in a strong narrative based around your protagonist. Number 4, and this is a mixed bag of positive and negative, depending on how you look at it. It appears that there is going to be way less party customization. And when I say customization, I don't mean you're going to have 8 characters in your party. You're actually going to have more customization about who's in your party and what skills they have. But the individual customization of characters in your party is going to be limited because only the protagonist can switch jobs. You are the special boy in this game. So whatever skills someone like Stia has here, this is all she's going to have for the whole game. Now, what's cool is that there's a bunch of characters in this game, and you're going to be able to get a bunch of different characters in your party. And what's kind of interesting about this is that, so again, it's a mixed bag because yes, you cannot combine her skills with another character's skills and have like this really insane, like perfectly built individual character. You kind of have that on your protagonist because they can kind of mess with that a little bit. But what's cool about this is that they get to create custom jobs basically for every single one of these characters, right? Like even if this one, right, we could be a hunter on Platypus here, right? He could be a hunter, and we also have a hunter in our party. However, this hunter is just straight up very different from our hunter. This is actually a tank hunter. He cares about getting physical defense and countering physical attacks and taunting, and it's like a very interesting, different take on the hunter. So you are going to get a much wider variety of characters, but you're not going to be able to customize them as much. Now, I don't want to pretend like you don't get to at all. You do have this equip system here. We're going to be able to equip 2 support skills and a couple battle skills. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. So all these characters are going to have this, but it's not going to be, you're not going to be able to switch the jobs and min-max everything to be the, like, to go through and have all of the characters max out all the jobs and make perfect builds with all of them. You are going to have to make do with whatever the game gives you. But on the other hand, that could be a positive because it is going to make you have some interesting characters with abilities that maybe wouldn't be balanced on the protagonist, but it could be balanced on an additional character. And finally, number 5, just as kind of a minor one, if you're an Octopath Traveler veteran, you're going to want to take a look at the jobs an additional time. Because they're not, because of the way the jobs are, they are very similar to Octopath Traveler 2. You know, like, in fact, this might even be 1-to-1 Octopath Traveler 2. But you got to keep in mind that you don't have the, like, ultimate skills in the same way on all your characters. Like, this isn't Partitio, right? This is a character as a merchant. So you don't have the ability to do hired help, for example, which is very, very big. You can go recruit people and do that, but that's more of like a generic anybody can do that thing. You don't have the ability to hire assassins, right? And just do that. You don't have the same like super ultimates that the other character, the latent powers. So there is a bit of a rebalancing. This game is what I suspect, again, I'm coming into this fresh, that this is going to be a much better balanced experience, meaning it's likely going to be significantly more difficult than Octopath Traveler 2. Octopath Traveler 2 was I don't want to say it was easy for everybody, but for me, it was a very easy JRPG up until the super boss, which was a very difficult fight. I mean, it still only took like probably under like 5 tries to actually get it, but still the point is like that was a pretty rough fight. and I really had to put an effort into it. The rest of the game, I didn't really have to think about that much. I feel like I've already had more challenging fights in this game, in the demo, than I did in Octopath Traveler 2. And I suspect because this is based off the mobile game, they have mastered this combat because they have done years of power creep and super bosses and this and that. So I think that they are going to be really good at finely tuning this experience to be pretty close to like optimal for enjoyment. But either way, I just thought that was something that is worth keeping in mind. So guys, thank you for watching. Again, I am planning on covering this game in full, so stick around on the YouTube channel if you want to see more. And this was kind of more people that have played Octopath Traveler 1 and 2 and maybe not COTC and aren't really sure what to expect. And those are some differences between the games. Anyway, guys, that is all for this one. Much love. Per platypus is per ploutopus. I will see you on the flip-flops. Bye!